1 week after the FBI...
there are a lot of things uglier than that. That's the only transition I had, though. I hope it's...
Descended on the home of former President Trump in a planned search where the Secret Service was given a heads up, and Donald Trump and his wife were on video watching it as it happened, and it was peaceful. Threats against federal law enforcement officials remain high. 3 senior officials tell NBC News that the FBI and Department of Homeland Security issued a joint bulletin on Friday warning of the increase in violent rhetoric. The 5-page document reportedly advises officials to remain cautious and vigilant in the face of threats largely being made on the internet. Last week, an alleged Trump supporter was killed in a confrontation with police after firing a nail gun into the FBI's field office in Cincinnati. He was also reportedly armed with an assault rifle. And on Saturday, armed supporters of the former president gathered near the FBI's office in Phoenix, Arizona, to protest the search of Trump's home. Meanwhile, a far-right media outlet is facing criticism after publishing the names of the FBI agents who searched Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. The website Breitbart published a leaked version of the FBI's search warrant on Friday. That version included the names of the special agent and supervisor who participated in it just hours before.
And by the way, let me just say, they knew, Mika, exactly what they were doing. There was so much online chatter. And we'll hear from Ben Collins, where people were desperate to get the names of these agents so they could kill them. The threats all over the internet saying that they were desperately searching for the agents' names that had been redacted because they wanted to find them so they could hunt them down and kill them. Under that environment, Breitbart decided to go ahead and let those people see their names.
The Justice Department had released, as you said, Joe, a redacted version. The move is now prompting criticism that Breitbart essentially put a target on the agents' backs.
Yeah, they did, but they did it on purpose.
They're not the only ones. Trump or someone on his team is believed to have leaked the unredacted version. The former president was the only one in possession of those documents ahead of the official DOJ release, and his Truth Social platform sent out a notification to followers that included a link to the Breitbart article.
So, Jonathan Lemire, so not only did the president release the names, they sent a notification out on his social media platform for everybody to look at it. I mean, everybody had already known what was contained in it, other than the FBI agents' names who were receiving death threats. I mean, you look at this and look at the recklessness of this. Look at the recklessness of media outlets regarding the Florida federal judge already receiving death threats, and they're trying. They're superimposing Jeffrey Epstein's face, his face on Jeffrey Epstein's body. It's, again, there are a lot of people out there that want to see this federal judge killed. There are a lot of people out there that want to see these FBI agents killed. At least it certainly looks that way.
Yeah, and a huge rise of threats against law enforcement, the FBI in particular, in recent weeks. The incident in the office in Cincinnati just a few days ago underscoring that danger. And you're right, whether it was Trump personally or someone very close to him, they're the ones who had a copy of that document. They're the ones who put it out to a friendly right-wing media source and, of course, then promoted it on Truth Social. So Trump's fingerprints all over this, and it does. It has put a target on the backs of 2 officers who were simply doing their jobs. And again, for a party that has, the Republican Party, has long tried to tout its support of law enforcement, boy, this sure is not doing that. Let's remember, of course, this comes on a year and a half after January 6th, where Capitol Police officers were attacked and badly beaten by Trump supporters who were there because Donald Trump himself called them to violence. Now we have threats being made against these agents because Trump or someone very close to him put out their names. We have Republican lawmakers calling for the FBI to be defunded and that federal law enforcement should be disbanded. It is yet again more hypocrisy from a Republican Party that has long strayed under the leadership of Donald Trump from being supportive of law enforcement, and 2 lives are in danger.
Yeah, lives are in danger. And again, they hate law enforcement, and law enforcement doesn't do their political bidding. They're fascists. These people who hate law enforcement when they actually try to do their jobs, they're fascists because they want to be able to use political violence against them, against anybody that doesn't further their political agenda. You look at January the 6th. Do they support law enforcement? No. They didn't support law enforcement because they wanted to overturn a peaceful democratic election. And so they beat the hell out of law enforcement officers with flags, bludgeoned their heads, jammed them indoors. Officers died after January the 6th, their families say, because of the January 6th rioters. And now you look at this, Mika.
Yeah.
They hate the FBI again. Republicans have hated the FBI, the premier law enforcement agency in America. They hated it from the start because they tried to blame all of Donald Trump's bizarre activities on the FBI. And now they hate him here.
Yeah.
I mean, and so they're back to hating the FBI again because the FBI is trying to protect Americans by keeping classified documents classified and keeping top secret documents where they're supposed to be for the protection of America and their allies. But they're siding again. They're siding with this guy who's been behaving like a fascist.
Yeah.
And they're against law enforcement officers. They don't support cops.
Not just far right websites. It's Fox News. And I watched a good amount on Friday and saw a lot of people twisting themselves into pretzels to try and figure out some way that this possibly was some sort of attack and assault by the FBI and the Justice Department on Donald Trump. And there were really uncomfortable moments where people were screaming and calling Merrick Garland a loser and screaming at each other and screaming at the situation. And it upsets people. It gins them up. And I was listening for the logic, and there was none. There was no journalistic integrity, and there was no logic to it. And I don't understand how this could be allowed in light of everything that is facing the network overall in terms of the credibility here. I say that very carefully. Nobody is perfect. And, all the cable networks have gone through a lot of changes in the past decade, and everyone's trying to do better. I'm not seeing it on the part of Fox. I'm not even in light of this.